Welcome to the Wisdom Check by Tabletop to Keyboard. This is going to be our bi-weekly podcast where we discuss things such as Dungeons and Dragons. Actually, I think maybe we need to turn up my mic a little bit, guys. How about some more game?
This is the Wisdom Check! This is the intro to end all intros. Talk about Dungeons, Dragons, and
Now, I don't think that's proper. This is a family show after all. This is the intro we can use, fellas. It's good, clean fun for everyone. Welcome to the Wisdom Check, where we have wholesome conversations about the dilemmas we face every day.
Nah, hold on a second. I got your intro right here. Yeah, that's better. Welcome to the Wisdom Check. Well, I'm right, Jeff's wrong. We're gonna have guests on to talk about it. It's gonna be awesome, because I said so.
He is right. He did say so. I don't know. Is surf music the best music for a podcast about D&D?
Fuck yeah.
Okay.
This just in, nobody can agree on our intro for this podcast. So we're just going to start. Welcome to the Wisdom Check. Roll for initiative. Fuck. A 1. It's like every time.
All right, everyone, we should be live. I am Dustin. You're here joining me today. We are here at the Wisdom Check, and with me is not Jeff. Nope. Jeff is off celebrating his first ever Dre Fantasy Football Championship. So congratulations to Jeff on winning it all this year in the most competitive.
He's a
fantasy
Florida
football
man
league.
right now.
Yeah, I know he's out doing.
Or he's
something
off
else.
to live in fear of Florida man, which is a
Yeah.
very real fear.
It is a very real thing. So, again, I'm Dustin. I'll be your host tonight. With me is Levi. We welcome Levi to the show.
Thank you for the welcome, Dustin.
Yes, so we thought we would go ahead and start off by talking a little bit about the year that was here at TT2KB. I think it's safe to say we started a little over a year ago. We started in September, October of 2018. So
It feels weird.
I know it feels weird that this whole thing was just about a year ago, kind of when we kicked things off, and we kicked things off with your Everstorm game. We had been a few game sessions in, and we were like, maybe we should start streaming this. We weren't really sure. We actually recorded the first few episodes, thinking that we would do YouTube and piece them together.
Mm-hmm.
Then we realized just what an undertaking that was going to be, and decided, screw it, let's just do this shit live. And here we are. So why don't we talk a little just about how we kind of got started with what we were doing with Everstorm and how this whole thing kind of grew over the last year.
Well, I was ready to start running a campaign again. And the previous campaign ran for 30 some odd games. And that's a lot for us because we try and play maybe once a month. And if we can get more than once a month, awesome. But we average about once a month. So then there was talk of us actually making this so people could watch. And I don't know. I'm a critter. I'm a crit roll fan. So I know it's a thing, that people actually do because I do it. And Clint is always big on telling me that, we have a strong game. We have one that's worthy to show other people. And I appreciate that because, Clint will make me feel great about what I'm doing, which is all cool and stuff. But I was really nervous that having an audience would change the game. And it did end up changing things in a way, not quite the way I expected, but we can talk a little bit more about that later. But I'm excited that we have people that give up their time. Viewers for Wisdom Check and for the games that we run. Thanks for giving us your time. As Ogle and I are both parents, we're both fully employed. We understand how valuable people's time is, and we really do appreciate that you give some of it to us. Thank you very much. And Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
So yeah, I think it was really strange because prior to us starting here on TT2KB, all of my streaming experience was in the MMO community. I'm an officer in the online guild Plague, do a lot of MMOs. I was learning how to do a lot of streaming over there, and Tarzan's here. Welcome back, Tar. I think that's Zach, correct? You can correct me if I'm wrong there, Tarzan, but I think I know who you are. But yeah, so I was doing a lot of that stuff, which was really weird because when you do something alone, it sure is. That's what I thought. Welcome, thanks for stopping by, Tarzan. It was me playing a game and just kind of trying to talk to whoever was showing up, and it was really weird because when I was doing my streaming as Gladius Rex on for Plague, a lot of the people that were showing up in Arcade were people who hated me. They were just showing up to see. They were showing up to see where I was because they did not want to get robbed by me in that game. So they were showing up literally to just know where I was on the map. And so it's a really weird thing that happens like that. So I go from that into this where people are showing up because they actually want to know me.
Audience as a defensive tactic.
I hit affiliate on that. Ridiculous. I hit affiliate on that channel by making people hate me. So here it's like a whole different story, right? Like, exactly. Air laser stream sniping. That's exactly what they were trying to do to me. So over here, though, it's been so different because the D&D community is so welcoming and so supportive. We had people who latched onto our game almost immediately, and who have tuned in every week, and the number of people who are doing that has grown, and it's been just this crazy ride. And here we are, what was it, like 27 sessions into Everstorm we're at now?
Yeah.
Right?
So and the funny thing is our pacing is so different. I know I've addressed this in a previous episode, but hey, everybody, back in the day, we used to level every game because we would drive crazy far to be together in the same room. And that was every game we'd do that. So because it was that much time and that much energy, we leveled every game. And we've slowed our pace so much that now the fact that we'll dedicate more than one game to a dungeon crawl or more than one game to one giant mega battle, it now feels like everybody has time to absorb plot and time to really think about how their character's reacting to stuff. And the funny thing was that in a reciprocal way ended up being good for streaming because now all the players have time to think about how they want their character to react to stuff when we stream and how to share their inner thought process, which was something that they would need to do to cue the audience into their character arc and how that character story is being told. I don't know. I can riff a little bit too much. Oh, hey, quick side note. There's a very important question. Ogle, they want to know how you grow a beard.
How you grow a beard?
There's a question. How do you grow a beard?
Well, protein, that's always the start is high protein diet, You gotta start with a high protein diet.
There you go, everybody. Eat more meat and you'll grow a beard.
That's how it starts usually.
Or nut protein.
Nut protein. Yeah, that's it. You nailed it. So he says you're picking up a buzz for my mic, but I'm not sure there's anything I can do about it.
So yeah, thanks. So 27. The plan is to cap 100 games. We'll see.
You think 100 games in Everstorm?
I don't know.
You don't know?
We set the progression for 100 games because the way I'm trying to average is about 4 games per every one level. Okay. 4 or 3. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen in the next game. I really don't know. Like, I have to do a lot of writing and thinking for next game because things are progressing in a way I didn't quite expect, which is how D&D goes all the time. So
if it makes you feel any better, there's a lot of times us as the players when we're talking, we aren't sure exactly if we know what happened last game. Like, we were there. Like, we know the events that technically went down. Oh, thank you for the sub there,
Tarzan. Thank you.
But we'll be sitting there, we'll be talking about it. We'll be like, yeah, this happened and this happened, but what does that mean? Like, well, I don't know. What do you think this means? I don't know. Well, this thing said this. So is that what we're doing? Well, I don't know. So like sometimes we don't know what's going on in the next game either when we're the ones technically kind of driving this at this point. So
yeah, it's really good. DMs out there, it's a practice, a good practices to try and track your bad DM habits, and I think I would love to hear my players' opinion on that. In fact, it's something we should probably talk about before we present at C2E2. But
yeah,
I think one of mine is too many NPCs. I'm big on that one, and I'm too cryptic. I like to hang on to mystery too long. I know that frustrates Jeff. I know probably. Jeff does not like how cryptic my NPCs are, and
we know how much Clint loves puzzles. So between being cryptic is just kind of like a puzzle, right? At the same time, so you can imagine that. But I do the same thing because, like, I'm running a Zweihander game, Terror and Treefell, and it's a conspiracy plot, and then the players have to slowly meet all these NPCs, and they have to kind of get to know them, and you have to go through those processes, and you don't just weave it together. And so in that game, I have these players who are not people who I usually play with. I know a lot of them, but we're not in a regular group that's been playing for 20 years.
20.
Yeah.
20
I LARP
years?
I LARP for a few years with Shosh playing Vampire LARP and with Scotty Weber, and he's played with us, the Everstorm group before. Scotty has. Georgie and Woda are guys who I play online games with Plague, and then we picked up ERB Princess and Leland, who I've met, through other things. So I got this group that doesn't play together, and this is really their first time playing under me as a GM in this kind of a setting. And it's just really weird because here I am putting out this sort of intricate conspiracy plot, and I don't really know how good the players are at unweaving those sorts of things. So I'm kind of watching them deal with it, and finally I realized, I think I'm being too cryptic. I got to, hit them over the head with this thing a little harder. And it took me about 2 to 3 games of realizing they weren't really picking up on a few things, and they were picking up on a few other things, and I was like, okay, this isn't going to get anywhere if I don't push it a little harder. So I see exactly where you're coming from.
I don't want players to think I think they are dumb. Ignorant is not dumb. And when I can see the whole tapestry and I reveal pieces, I think they're painfully obvious, but I see the whole tapestry and you guys only see a piece.
Exactly.
So it's tough. At the end of the day, it's supposed to be about fun. So if I feel I've been cryptic to the point of frustration, and I did sense that last game out of Jeff, at one point he came up to interact with NPCs, and he was definitely trying to get more out, and I wasn't giving him anything.
Do you mean prior to this combat, or...
No, the twins. When he went up to talk to the twins, I felt like he wanted a lot more than he got. So that's just,
we got a question from chat real quick from Tarzan. He asked how to get his fiancée into gaming, and I will just answer that, Zach, and let you know that my wife still does not play after 17 years of marriage. But if I was going to try to, what I would suggest would be to work on a game that is very heavily mimicked around the kinds of TV shows that she likes to watch.
Yes, I would agree with that.
If they like to watch CSI cop dramas, put together a CSI cop style game. Find a system that works well for that. It doesn't have to be D&D first. Find a good system that'll let you do that sort of thing, and make a game that they can get into immediately. And that is probably the key.
Whatever fandom your fiancé likes, if you can, I guarantee, no matter what fandom she's into, there is some kind of game already or system that dances in that genre. And if there isn't, there are multiple games where you can just uproot the system and change all the details.
Yeah. And that takes a fair amount of home brewing, which is, that's what we do best. But it's for people who aren't ready for that step. the key is to go out there to your game shops, talk to your people in the game shop, say, I want to run this kind of game. Is there a good system for it? And have them help point you in the right direction.
Honestly, if I had to just shoot at the dark for a good generic system that I think kind of does a lot of stuff well, the World of Darkness Mortal sheet, just skills and abilities, is a good template for a human. And then if you want to go from there and add wackadoo stuff to it, that's great. But the fact that it's pools based off how a person's supposed to be designed. We once had a friend run a game for us. We were supposed to play ourselves.
Oh,
and
such a horrible idea, but yet we did it.
And when we played ourselves, the funny thing that we were worried about, and rightfully so, is that when we came down to evaluating yourself in 2 dots on a sheet, it became tricky to sort of hedge yourself in. But anyway, we're getting off base. Right. Tarzan 33, I'd do that. And good news, my wife did play. I got my wife to play. She did it as sort of like a thing to me. Here's another thing, Tarzan. It's like share and share alike. So at one point, my wife, we did like a book exchange. So she was an English teacher at the time. I read French, existentialism. I read Camus' The Stranger. And I read Metamorphosis by Kafka, and I got her to read Watchmen, and I got her to read Sandman in comic books. So she was reading comic books, and I was reading her books, so we could understand each other. When she started doing game with me, I took some dancing classes with her. So with your fiance, I would say, try and if you just meet her halfway. If she won't game with you, then say, well, then what do you want me to do with you? I know we're getting almost like marriage counseling here, but
yeah, well,
that's what did it for Kim.
We've both been at it for a while, so we could probably do a marriage counseling segment here on Wisdom Check sometime. But I think that's. I saw some people say take them to a convention. I would be wary of taking them to a convention first because it's so overwhelming. There's so much there.
It was a long time before I took Kim.
I wouldn't start with the convention, but
because it seems like a lot.
It is a lot. So I would like I said, I would start with an at-home game with people that they're friends with that are kind of maybe into it or stuff like that. That way they're
Or I'd also say Tarzan, get friends of hers that also don't know how to play, so she doesn't feel alone, like she's the only one at the table that doesn't know what she's doing. Because my wife was legitimately worried when we were dating that sitting at the table that she would be the ignorant one that was asking stupid questions. And my wife is a researcher. She likes knowing how to do everything. So when she doesn't know how to do stuff, she feels out of her element, and she likes having the time to prepare. So I would just get a bunch of your fiance and any of her friends that seem remotely interested. And then that way, if any of them screw up, they're all screwing up together and nobody knows what they're doing. And that is also part of the fun. So then you can set the tone.
Yeah. So find a good narrative that they already like to enjoy. Work on a story for that, Get them and a couple other people that are at the same level of play. Get them at a table. Have a good time. And see if they take to it. If they take to it, they do. If they don't, they don't. You can't force it any more than that. So... yeah,
my wife liked gaming, and she came up with cool concepts. She surprised me. The first game she ever played was D&D 3rd, and she surprised me because just being somebody that doesn't play and having preconceived inside the box notions of gaming, which all of us kind of do because we're such a product of the subculture, is that she decided her first game she would play a pregnant character. So she was actively pregnant in a D&D setting during fights, and we had to concern ourselves with the day that she would give birth and what to do about that. And I was like, my first thought is, you can't be pregnant? It's there's no rule that says you can't, but I didn't know anybody else that ever wanted to play a pregnant character during D&D.
Wow.
Where goblins might kill the baby. That's just fucking crazy.
It's crazy, yeah, when you think about something like that. I saw where some people were talking about getting into board games. Board games can work. They can be very different. because of the way the rules usually interact with boards. Board games typically, unless you play them the way our friend the Litching Hour does, they usually don't lend heavily to the role play and the narrative part.
Right.
Like, you can play Clue, you can play a game like, there's like like House on the Hill, like those bigger, more complex board games. Like, you can get into some of that and it's kind of cool, but they don't necessarily lend heavily to the role play part that you would want to get out of a tabletop role playing game. So, good question there, Tar.
Thank you for the question, Tarzan. Good luck with the fiance.
Dead Disco Panda says, would games like Exploding Kittens be a good slow intro? And I'm not familiar with Exploding Kittens. I saw the deck the other day, or the game the other day, but I didn't actually play it.
Kittens is not so much a role-playing game. I mean, it's funny and it's silly, and anything by the Oatmeal is. Dead Disco Panda, if you haven't tried Bears versus Babies, that one's excellent. But yeah, I don't know that Exploding Kittens is. I wouldn't call it role play. I mean, you can add role playing to anything. That's like saying, could you role play? Oh, good God! I just brain farted so hard on the. I mean, like everybody's favorite card game of all time.
As we like to say, you could role play just about anything if you try hard enough. But
guys, help me out! It's the inappropriate apples to apples. Everybody loves it.
Cards Against Humanity.
Thank you. You could technically roleplay Cards Against Humanity, I guess, but like it'd be kind of tough to shoehorn that in.
Munchkin is a little more in line because at least it uses a lot of the same terminology. So
the tropes,
a little in the tropes, because it's kind of a neat introduction. But like my wife,
just the fact that entering the room is called kicking in the door. It's not called entering the room. Like that almost feels like you're gaming.
My wife loves Munchkin, but she still doesn't play D&D. So. You can get them to that. You can get them that close, and they still won't make the jump. So, there is that you have to contend with, I guess, a little bit. But, we kind of wandered off there a little because of some chat questions.
I'm gonna throw us back onto track with we've been doing this for a year. So let's talk about one of the big changes. I said I'd come back to it, so here we go. One thing I've become painfully aware of is the silences in our game and the lulls, and I start to get super nervous when there's any quiet, and I want to fill that quiet, even if I have to make up a song, and that's where Cam came from.
While you're waiting for people to make their actions.
Yeah, I used to run music in the background, and I used to be able to control a music tab in Roll20, and I loved having battle music. I loved having ambiance music, but we stream. So now that we stream, copyright is an issue. And with copyright being an issue, we need to make our own stuff. And that's why I'm also doing character portraits, because on Roll20, we use all the character art we use for our guys. It's stolen. It's from somewhere. And so we've got character art I'm still working on. It's taken me a really long time to do, because as any artists in there know, chatters.
Decoy, I'm sure will vouch for you.
Forever.
It takes time.
Back me up.
It takes time.
Yep. So, long story short, the silence has me nervous, and I want to make sure we always seem to be high energy, because I've seen other D&D games on Twitch, and anytime I see like people sitting low or sitting away from the camera or just silently staring, like not even at the camera but down, like just like everybody's doing this, I want to die. It's like I'm watching golf. And golfers, no offense, I'm sure the game is fun to play, but watching golf is rough. Oof. And I'm not even a sports baller, so like, I can't
for sure. I think that, and this can start to get us a little bit into some of our topics we thought we were going to kind of get into tonight as we kind of go down a little bit more here. Is I think the lulls tend to happen when the maps and the combat is out, because that's where you've got people who are, I don't know why people don't already know what they're going to do by the time their turn comes around. Sometimes things change right before your turn, and suddenly what you thought you were going to do is not an option anymore, so then you're like kind of scurrying to figure something out. But
that's every caster's life.
Yeah, every caster's life. So
I'm going to cast this spell.
Right.
No, I'm not.
And I mean, usually as someone who is a caster, then your backup plan is I usually have a backup plan in mind. Like as long as this doesn't change, this is what I'm going to do. But if it does, here's likely my next choice.
Shapeshift into a crocodile.
Crocodile is always a good choice.
Crocoron.
Always a good choice.
Balron the crocodile.
Balron the crocodile. So, I usually have a couple of ideas of what I'm going to do by the time my turn comes around, but sometimes it's painfully evident that other people haven't. And so that's usually when the lulls in any game, not just ours, but any game come out, is when it comes around to their turn and they haven't decided what they're going to do. So then they start looking through options and fumbling with their sheet, maybe trying to figure out what they're going to roll or where they're going to move, counting squares, whatever. And so that's where you see those lulls come in, I think. Yeah. And so obviously you filled it with cam music. But so it's a good option because one, it doesn't affect anything other than you doing something just kind of fun. Oh, we got a sub at tier 1 there from Dead Disco. Thank you for the sub. And also I did see it. I didn't miss you there, Jay Bruce. I did see you host us, so thank you for the host. As well. But so what are other things that you can do? Because one of the things we notice about streaming that's so different than when we play in person is that we can't have sidebar conversations. I can't talk to Jeff while it's Clint's turn. And that usually takes care of those lulls when you're playing in person, but it does not take care of the lulls on stream. So
right, because that's like, I have no frame of reference for that, because I have what's coming out of my mouth and then all the stuff that's going on in my head. So the funny thing is, I watch the old streams, and I catch so many little jokes. And that's even without you guys having table talk. So let's go about that.
Well, it was interesting because by forces out of our control, me and Clint actually sat in the same room last game. And we had, Team Ramrod. And I think we had actually maybe a better time just because we were hanging out in here. And we tweaked with my microphone, which might be a reason why you might be getting some buzz out there today. I've been kind of working with it. But we were able to kind of have some sidebar conversations between our turns. So, we were talking about this at the other, and he'd be like, I think I'm going to do this, Dustin. I'm like, I don't know. That doesn't sound like a good idea. And we'd be sitting here having these conversations, right? And
it got so conspiratorial. It was all of us, and then there's fucking Ramrod in their special little room.
And it was just so perfect because me and him were actually on a different floor of the house too, or in a different wing of the house. So it was it worked out perfect that it happened to be me and him because we were literally the two people in the same other room anyway. So it worked out perfect, because of the damn internet. But I actually watched most of the episode at work the other day just to see how much you could hear me and him yapping. And it wasn't as much as you think there, Clint, but it was funny. So but it was interesting because I started thinking about it. I was like, man, it's amazing how much of that I miss whenever we're all just individually on screen because we can't do that. And that's in my opinion the biggest change over the last year that we've had to make. Mm-hmm. It always helps, knowing what you're going to do on your turn so you don't have those lulls pop up to begin with.
Oh, and I am now painfully aware because the audience, when it was just you guys who are participants in the game, and I'm not worried about trying to entertain others, just you, I didn't care if I had more than one NPC talking to NPCs. Now I actively try and avoid that. If I find that I've created a scene or I've created events that would cause an NPC to talk to an NPC, so I'm talking to myself, and I've turned all of you into bystanders, I feel that's streaming DM foul number 1. If you guys are not the focus, because clearly I exist to be an environment with a streaming situation because they are cheering you guys on to defeat me for the most part. And so the moment it's not the focus on you guys, I have now disenfranchised the entire audience as well. So as much as I don't want to be influenced by the existence of an audience, you can't help but it alters everything. It changes how you think about everything.
It does. And I can say, at least from my GMing this year running Terra and Treefell, on stream. My other game I run is in person, so I don't have that problem at the game shop. But I do note that that my NPCs don't do a lot of time talking to each other, so I've done good on that part because I do go back and rewatch all my own stuff constantly.
Nice.
So, but yeah, it's hard to figure out what to do with the lulls sometimes, because sometimes you just as a GM, I think you start to freak a little. Like, are they just not getting it?
Yeah.
Are they uninterested? Like,
Right.
Where's this whole thing going? You know,
and the technological disconnect. It's just this weird. You're sitting in a room talking to a box, and all this silence occurs, and you cannot read how they actually feel about what's going on. That was a weird drain. You know, it's just like it was early on, and Clint and I talked about this. That once we got into this is even before streaming. This is when we jumped from, you know what, it's too difficult for us to drive all the time. We have to only use Roll20. And so we started using Roll20 for the first time, and that was Skyfire, right?
No.
We ran a game called Skyfire back in the day.
No,
So we set up-
Skyfire we drove. It was the last campaign, though. Whatever you called it with the Baron. That was we were all on Roll20.
That's the Return to Limb world. So
yeah,
the Baron's Chronicle.
Right.
We're going to stream to that, and then we were talking about how it almost felt like when it's really cold outside, and you go outside, and all the sound from you speaking because of cold air seems to just die. Like, it doesn't travel at all. It just seems to just vanish into a void that swallows it. And it almost felt like that when we were streaming. Like, when we talk, you're in this room and you're talking alone. And then these weird pauses because your friends aren't sure if you're done talking.
Yeah.
And suddenly it feels like we're all taking turns talking. And it added this mechanical vibe to something that used to feel organic. And that was a strange learning curve for all of us.
Yeah, I think that's mostly true. There's some chat going on about how often the people in chat are actually rooting for the TPK, and I would say that is fairly true. I every Sunday there's two shows on at the same time, and I have to bounce around between them a bit, but I do spend a lot of my time over at the Grouch Couch on Sundays watching Drunks and Dragons, and I can tell you right now that the chat is usually very split between whether they're screwing over the players or helping them.
The chat is trying to kill Drunks and Dragons.
It happens a lot over there. And last night I had to spend a fair amount of time over at Grim and Perilous Gaming, where they were doing a giveaway. So I was over there taking part in some of it, and I can tell you they also. There was a lot of money being spent trying to kill players last night in that game as well. So the chat is not necessarily always on the side of the players there, Levi. I think sometimes they are rooting for you to wipe us. I don't know what they think they're going to do next game then when we're all dead. But, you know, it is one of those sort of things. But there was, I don't know. I think the chat sometimes when they show up, they like to see someone bite it.
Hey, Kabuki's with us. What's up, Kabuki?
Oh, it is Kabuki. I didn't recognize. Did they change the name? I did not recognize.
That's what they just talked about.
Oh, they did. Ah, Kabuki, it's good to see you.
Wakanda forever, Kabuki.
That's right.
All right.
Welcome to the show.
So, PTK. Or sorry, TPK.
You had the shirt on. You were thinking it, weren't you?
I was worried it could happen, but I don't like a TPK.
I wasn't.
I don't have fun with a TPK.
It wasn't going to be a total party.
I'm never trying to make one happen. I'll put it that way.
I was like,
Balron always lives, right? Isn't that the story?
My characters always live. That's just how it is. I'm a survivor by nature. I'm an opportunist.
It's true.
I will cut. I will cut and run if I have to.
Run. Yes.
What?
Oh no! What happened?
Who used rewards?
People and don't feel others make decisions. She says when you use rewards and they don't read the question, unsubbing salty pub. What question?
What? I didn't see any question for
Air Laser asked us a question.
No.
Oh, you're rooting for TPK. We're listening to you, Air.
I heard you.
Don't ignore Air. She's the mod.
Air's awesome. But yeah, no, we So yeah, it was I wasn't worried about. You asked a while ago with the thingy. Okay, well, if you want to re-ask it, we'll definitely answer it. But we were. I was joking that the previous game we were worried about the number of enemies on the map and the power level of some of those enemies, and with what we had in the tank. And I told him, I was like, now my birthday was the day before that game, and I was like, I'm not telling Levi it's my birthday if he doesn't notice it. I'm just gonna go in. I told everyone in our Dark Secrets chat where Levi can't see it, we sometimes have these conversations, and I'm like, I'm just gonna go in.
Facebook betrayed you.
Oh,
Facebook betrayed you.
Oh, when are we making new tier 2 and tier 3 emotes? Air laser. That is a good question for Levi, because I don't have that kind of talent.
I'll end up making them pretty quick because, well, yeah, that's like rules for Clint because he wants to make sure I get all the character portrait artwork done. So
yeah,
it is my goal to cut myself off of my current drug, which is Borderlands 3, and just focus on portraiture because I'm a vault hunter, and I have so many fucking legendaries. Oh,
Zombie's like, it looks like he's cough like volunteer. Like we should hire Zombie to do some of those emotes to take the work off of you, Levi.
The new DLC just dropped, everybody, because it's so cool. And after I crush that, then I'm going to dial it back and focus on portrait art so I can get that done before we go back into this new school year. So.
Yeah,
or not new school year, but the new year, second semester.
I'm always really, because I have no talents. That's why I typically say is amongst those kinds of things, I have no talents. All my talents are just people talents, like dealing with people, things like that. I'm not an artist, can't do music. None of that stuff am I good at. So, like they'll give Cam crap about not having music done or you not having art done. And I'm like, I ain't saying shit because I can't do it. So,
well, yeah, but we can totally give Cam crap about not having music done because he hasn't done shit with music yet. Not a thing.
Yeah, I know. So that's why the camp music exists. It's because he's kind of poking fun at Cam. But at the same time, like, so I don't ever try to rush those things because I'm like, it'll get done when it gets done and it'll be great. And I don't worry about it. So I just.
Oh, I got a question. I got a question. I just saw that I got to answer. Animal 21. You're asking me about Borderlands class. Here we go. And over. Oh no, what class I teach? No, I don't want to talk about teaching. Okay,
he's an art teacher.
I'm an art teacher. So that's why they push on me to make the art. Because I don't think it's because I'm the most talented artist. Because Dustin can draw, everybody. I've seen him draw. Dustin draws. He's good.
Yeah. It's not like stream level good though. Like I can't make like a emote or anything like that though.
And what it comes down to is that I'm probably gonna be opinionated about the art. So they're just like, just make him do it. Because then if he gets pissed off, so true. Then he's only getting pissed off at his own stuff. So
yeah, there is some of that. There is some of that too. I mean,
I'm an art teacher.
We're really good at arguing with each other here at TT2KB. If you haven't seen our intro to the Wisdom Check, it's a true story. We have
Borderlands class.
No, he wants to know Borderlands.
He does want to do Borderlands.
He wants to talk Borderlands.
So okay, in order, I like being melees, and so I was Brick in Borderlands 1. I was my love. Krieg the Psycho in Borderlands 2. Oh God, I love Krieg. I miss him dearly. And now I'm not Amara for Borderlands 3. I'm Mose because I'm a Torg guy, and I got one question and one question only: explosions. And then that's all. That's all you need to know.
There's your Borderlands update.
I am the conductor of the poop train.
Oh man! So
immortal. Sorry, that was my line.
Well, we got to get back here towards Everstorm here again. Talk a little bit about last game. I like to talk about game. When I was kind of promoting it out there, I kind of wanted to call it a season finale. Yeah. Mostly because we've kind of, this is mostly me, I push narrative sometime when I don't need to, but I've been like, hey, guess what? January, season 2 of all of our shows, officially. Like, and everyone's like, no one's agreed to that but me. But because I'm the PR guy and I'm the guy who just sends shit out there, I just start saying it and then it's so. It's like, make it so, number 2. You know, that's just how I do things. So Sometimes I shoot from the hip and ask later. I'm like, hey guys, we can all. This is going to be officially season 2 starting January, right? And everyone's like, yeah, sure, I guess so. Since you already told everyone,
and I'm an improv type. So if the guys say yes, then I don't say no. I usually say yes and this,
right?
Because that's your rule right there. You don't say no. You say yes and you add something else to it. So yeah.
But it turned out it kind of was. Like by the time I was done, I was like, it felt kind of like a season finale.
I wanted it to feel like a moment where it's a certain tone that's happening in the narrative, like an emotional tone that is melancholy. That's what I wanted, or close to. And I want to feel like a moment when credits would suddenly roll, and then you're left kind of not sure. So with that one, right around 1 a.m., I was like, I hope we can get to this because we got to wrap. And it's like we're at 1. I'm like, this is gonna go past 2.
Yeah. So now I know that some of the guys grumbled a little about just the length of the combats, but to be fair, and this is what I said in rebuttal, I said this was supposed this was supposed to happen at live game when we had like a 12-hour session set up to do this combat. You built a 3D model of that map. So
I did.
We were supposed to do that then. So 10 hours of combat was probably about right. It just didn't happen.
But also to be fair, we are going to try, or at least I'm going to try to pull back on marathon combats. Marathon combats has been something I've tended to do. I tend to black and white, where I'll like have all combat or no combat, and I'm going to try and everything in moderation this. So we'll have, God bless you, Pan. Pan said I had a touch of Empire Strikes Back. That felt nice. You know what? I'm just going to glow in that for a little bit. That felt good. That means a lot. Thank you, Pan. Okay, I can move on now. I wanted an Empire Strikes Back. I wanted an Empire Strikes Back vibe, and you're the first person that actually said something about it, so that felt good. Okay, so I'm going to try and pull back on marathon combats only because I was actually talking to Clint, and Clint was like, let's, at the end of the day, it's the combat creates tension, which is good, and danger, which is good. But when it just goes on and on and on, it starts to feel droning, and it's not actually entertaining. And he's got a great point. I mean, he didn't word it like that, but that's how I feel it is if it goes on too long. It's fun for us because we're doing it, but it's got to be fun for you guys too. And again, that's the audience influencing, but I think for good reason. I think it's the audience influencing to make a better product.
I mean, as a player, I know the last combat, this last session, maybe more so than the first session of this combat, I know I was like pretty much in it the whole way. Like, I felt the tension of the whole thing, because I said when we started that combat, with the number of enemies on the field, and with some of the power level, like, we hit one of them, we saw what it did for damage, and how it barely touched the health bar, and I was like, I told him between games, I'm like, Bowron's going to go through this house and find those kids. Like, that's all there was to it. And I was curious if it was ever set up to be an objective combat like that, with the amount you had on the field.
It was set to be... I wanted to push the perceived sense of plot armor and invulnerability in the PCs. Hi, I am guilty of this as well. Other players out there, when I play my biggest PC archetype, is I'm the PC archetype that tends to test the boundaries of the reality of a game master's game. I like to, when like a game GM's like, well, there's nothing over there that's interesting. I'm like, oh, well, that means you haven't written anything over there. So I'm going to go exactly where you told me not to go to test to see how much of a sandbox you actually have and if you can craft a reality. Because I improv shit all the time. If you can, you have my respect, and I'll follow your narrative a little bit more. But if you can't, and your game is on rails, and we have no free will whatsoever, then I'm just not going to take anything very seriously. And so I'm the type of player that would also frustrate me, but it's like, hi everybody, I'm in real life, I'm a teacher. And the joke all of us teachers say to each other when we have a meeting is that teachers are the worst students. When you put a bunch of teachers in a meeting room, suddenly we're not taking this as seriously because we know how much is really of value to be learned and how much is filler. Because you're giving us busy work.
Filler.
So, like,
a little taste of your own medicine then, huh?
Yeah, DMs can be the worst players. We really can. Because the trouble is, once you can see, once I can feel behind the screen what I think might be happening, I might chase that rabbit hole, that meta rabbit hole of what I think you're doing, what I think you're not doing as well, against what my own character might do. So,
yeah, I guess that's fair. I guess I like to, when I'm in a game, I try not to think that much about that. I guess I'm usually more focused on looking for opportunities for my character to advance whatever he has going on in a game. And
you're a rock solid player,
so I don't ever worry too much about that, like where the edge of reality is. But I was just curious.
Dustin's the player that's always surprising me. Like, Dustin's the one that of all the guys will sit on something and not tell me for a long time, and then he'll curveball me at a climactic moment, which is always kind of like, so he's fun to have in the game because he'll throw you off when you don't see it coming, which is always fun to roll with. So that's really cool.
Yeah. What I lack in quirky voices and over the top antics, I usually do make up for with a lot of scheming. I'll give you my stereotypes for the guys. You'll love this. Everybody, this is your Christmas gift. Christmas gift from Santa Levi here with his Santa hat.
Dustin, he always pretty much stays in character. If he's gonna have an offhand comment, it's very on the nose and witty, and he surprises me in game all the time with stuff I don't quite see coming. Jeff is my puzzle guy who is always crunching numbers and makes a really big plan that's very specific, and he hates dark secrets, and then he will really quickly turn to the guy that throws a Molotov at shit just because he gets excited about throwing a Molotov at shit. Cam is never paying attention to anything. He does not know what's going on. He doesn't know. He doesn't take notes. He doesn't care. He just wants to have the cool, badass, off the top of the ropes, DDT, super backflip, badass action. He wants his Michael Bay explosion moment, and he wants to be cool doing it every single time. That's what Cam wants. He loves that stuff.
Nice.
Let's see. Timmy is my actor. He plays Fulcrum, everybody. And Tim does not break. He stays in character all the damn time. And he is my self-sacrifice guy. He will absolutely like jump on the grenade with his character. He will be the healer because he knows nobody else wants to be the healer. Whatever utility they need, he will go do that, and he'll build a whole character around it and just subplant his needs. He's a nurturer. And then Clint is my power gamer that desperately doesn't want to be the power gamer, but every time he plays not a badass, he hates his character. There's a couple times he played like a cleric that was the healer, and that lasted maybe 3 games. And he's like, this sucks. I hate this. I'm not having any fun. Yeah. And it's like, that's because you like those big numbers. He likes being that big badass, and him and Cam have that in common. They like the big badass moment. They really love that. If they can get a kill and we narrate it to be awesome, loves it. Gwenson, that was it. He remembers the name.
Gwenson.
It was Gwenson. We retired that shit quick.
So I think that what's interesting is over this last year when we've been streaming is I've seen I think I've seen a little bit of a change in a few of the guys at the table.
Yes, totally.
Just in little comments they've made, and even in comments that we're making now about kind of things that we're looking at how to tweak our game a little for maybe just for the sake of a viewing audience. But like, you know,
the audience changes everything.
We're hearing things like, you know, talking about wanting to like bring in like 4E style like minion rules where just minions that take a couple of hits, almost arbitrary to hit points, like boom, 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 they go down. Like, talk about these things where now the numbers don't matter, just did you hit them or not? Like, and things to help speed up some of this, what used to be a group that I always consider to be heavy crunch. Is looking at more narrative concepts. We're putting these Unreal intros together that are just completely narrative. You know, where I feel like going from a table game to stream has really, I think, pushed everybody more towards this narrative like mindset, maybe more so than we probably have been in any of our previous games.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Pan mentioned something. I gotta talk about it. Okay. Jeff just mentioned Clint hates non-badasses, but he loved his nerd and exalted. Okay.
It's talking about
all
Incron
the characters. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, just
all the characters Clint has ever played, he still managed to make his nerd character and exalted a badass. His nerd character was a mage that felt a little Sheldon Cooper inspired.
This is the one in Jeff's Exalted I wasn't in. That's why I don't know who you're talking about. Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay.
This is his character that was like able to speed read a book or speed write a novel with his powers, and he did hands down the coldest and most badass thing any of his characters has ever done, Kodo included. He got into where he could make origami weapons, like he could fold paper, and using his exalted powers, the folded paper could be as sharp as steel. And so we walk over before we know we're about to fight a big battle, and he's writing all these letters. He's speed writing all these letters. We're like, what's that? And he's like, I am writing apology letters to the widows of the men I'm about to kill to apologize for taking their lives. And I'm like, fucking what? And then he turned all of these pages into origami like arrows that would launch themselves at people. He was going to murder an army with the apology letters to their future widows. That is the coldest shit I have ever seen. It's amazing. So awesome. I loved that. It was Clint. That was inspired. I loved it then. I still love it.
That's amazing.
Oh my god, it was amazing. It was so. That was like next level. That was amazing.
But no, that is amazing. I had not heard that story, so I think that I think it's been interesting to see this sort of change just in the group as they push this kind of direction.
Totally.
So I think it'll be interesting to see what that does with our games going forward into what we're now deeming as season 2 for TT2KB, which
making intros,
obviously.
Hey, audience, we're talking a lot about intros.
We are talking a lot about intros.
We're going to actually make them because I want to, but sometimes it's hard for us to get our shit together and actually record. But we really want to do it.
And this is a rough time of year to get 6 of us together to do anything right now. Holidays, everything else, but we're working at it. But yeah, no, we definitely have those coming up. We want to put together. I'm still going to be doing Terra and Treefell through probably the first couple of months of the year. That's probably so through cool. March, and then it'll end. And then we'll open up that Thursday game slot. We're talking about some 7 Days to Die coming up, maybe.
Yeah. I'm going to play 7 Days to Die on the lowest settings possible. Everything looks so gross.
So we don't know what that's going to be just yet, but it'll be fun. We'll have to see how that's going to work out. It'll be a lot of. We have a few more ideas.
We're trying to make more stuff. Hey, audience! This is turning into my this all right here is becoming my midlife crisis. This is the thing I'm throwing my effort into, and telling myself without this my life has no meaning. You know what you do. And so we're trying to make this cool. We don't know where this is going, but we're trying to make it more, I guess. More is what we're hoping to achieve. I don't know what more even means.
And we're trying to make it a bigger group effort.
Yeah.
Getting everyone else more involved and finding things that they could do. And like I said, we have a group with all these other talents that we want to put on display as well. Like, so, we're hoping to see how some of that's going to go. So Jeff's time and here says for combat stuff, he's always preferred narrative to combat.
Yeah. Okay. Jeff, you like and you don't like narrative and combat. Okay. Jeff is a conundrum when it comes to these things. Because he doesn't like 5e because it's not enough. But I remember when we played Pathfinder, and when we got so deep into Pathfinder that the bloat of Pathfinder had gotten so big with the amount of published material that the guys felt that I remember Jeff specifically complaining that he felt that if he picked any class, there was so much stuff written online that there was one build or two good builds to do it from the perspective of thinking of builds, that as the one with the most combat potential, and then to do anything else would be ridiculous. And so he didn't like it because it was all trodden territory. So now I understand why he's so psyched about Pathfinder 2, but I'm just telling you, that's your curse, man. You love Pathfinder 2 now, but like in a year, you can do it and I hate it. Because like the moment he knows the system, he's already bored with the system. So
yeah, I think with 5e is interesting because it sits for me in this kind of middle ground.
Yeah,
it sits for me in this
really
middle ground.
Is what TSR said they were going to do.
Yeah, and we've had an interesting. I'm going to talk a little about Drunks and Dragons again for our stream team members out there who didn't see last week's episode. There's been a mini joking kind of war raging this week between me and the Lich, and over some stuff that went on. But one of the things I had to explain to them this week, had to do a little rules lawyering, was that size categories don't do anything to damage. Like, and it's one of those things that just exemplifies like some of the things about 5e where, yeah, Hep was robbed. Sure, whatever you want to tell yourself, Air Laser. But there's little things like that like you want to matter and it kind of doesn't.
Yeah.
And I think that's where some of the meat of where you want things to be cool or tactical and sometimes it's just not, that makes a 5e combat that drags on too long feel really repetitive.
Yeah, it does feel repetitive.
So
that is true.
I think that's maybe where some of this is coming in of like, let's try to narrow down. Because I feel like your maps, when I look at them, I feel like they're Pathfinder design maps. Like the way that you put the combats together is still based around us as killing machines in Pathfinder that were just maybe not quite in 5e. Like, is that accurate? Because it's habit. I think it's habit. I think it's habit for you. 10 years of Pathfinder is a hard habit to break. Like,
yeah, I wouldn't say habit as much as like I'm like a dog that came out of a bad home, and I'm used to the guys are murderers. All they do is murder everything I put in front of them. So I have to make this way too hard. Like, so hard.
Thanks for joining us, Animal G.
Thanks for the bits.
Yeah,
thanks for joining us, Animal G. Happy holidays.
So, but we have brutalized your maps over the course of our 20 years. So I know we have created this monster, but 5e is kind of the first system where our hands are a little tied when dealing with
I know, it's lethal again. Woo!
I mean, we've done a good job of surviving it as best we can,
guys,
but it has been crazy hard.
Wisdom checkers, Pathfinder. It didn't matter. Ooh, you know what happened? DMs out there. The one time I had real challenges on the battlefield for the guys is when I threw my hands up and I told the guys in advance. I went to Clint and I went to Pan and I said to Jeff and I said, "Hey, can you make an NPC? Just make it." and follow the rules for like a build, a normal build as if you were a player. And they're like, okay, sure. And then I used those builds against the guys, and I killed Clint's character.
It's true.
So I had the PCs build their own destruction, and it was the only way I made something lethal.
It was like being at the end of Ghostbusters, where it was like choose your destroyer, and we picked the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and that was pretty much how it went.
And so, because what it comes down to is, at the end of the day, DMs, no matter how much you think you've got a danger in front of the PCs, they synergize their abilities like a perfectly well-oiled machine so well in a way that you can't, because you are more like juggling and trying to keep all the balls in the air, and you're going to get your eye off something. There are every single combat, especially because at that point it's like 1 a.m., every single combat I'm forgetting something. I'm forgetting something. Like towards the end of the night, I'd be like, oh God, I forgot that guy took a turn. Oh God, I forgot that guy didn't even move. And the guys would be like, he can stay there. You forgot him. So, he didn't do anything. And it's because I'm managing so many assets, and they only have to worry about how well to manage their choices.
Yeah, I think what's interesting with Everstorm, and I think me and the guys have talked about this amongst ourselves for a while, was we went in blind, not knowing what each other made. So there was not a lot of group synergy to begin with, and then these 5e does not give you a ton of tactical synergy either. So it's kind of it makes some of the maps rough. Like, I don't mind it. I mean, I enjoy the fact that I push Bauer into the brink of death pretty much every combat that we're in. And
the Balrin Scar chart is one of my favorite little things that has grown out of this game.
I'm going to have to add more to it, I think, after last game. I damn near bit it again, but I didn't hit 0, so I try to save the Scar chart for when I hit 0.
There's rules.
There's rules to the Scar chart. So. Yeah, we got to make it harder. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't blame Levi for upping the difficulty a notch or two for us, but I'll tell you, it is pushing total party kill. Like, it is getting brutally close.
I hate to say it, but I'm from a school of thought that if you don't almost TPK every fight, then why did you fight?
Yeah.
Because we don't play every week. If we played every week, one thing we have almost never done is a random encounter. Our group doesn't random encounter. I don't see the point in throwing a couple owlbears while they're walking on the road, because honestly, we took so much time to rearrange our schedules and get together and focus on a story. There is no story, in my opinion, of fighting a random thing that comes out of the woods, so we don't do it. Yeah. And so to that end, also, why should I throw something at them that's a cakewalk unless that thing has a narrative importance, or it's an actual enemy trying to stop them because of what they're doing? So
I feel like the only way you make a random encounter not seem just random is if you then find some way to rope whatever the random encounter was into a narrative, into part of the narrative itself. Like, you have to do a little extra work as a DM. So either your encounter isn't really random, and what you do is you think about the narrative, and then you decide what comes running out of the woods. Or
that kind of happened with the Baron. The Baron, we had a villain who was crafting monstrosities constantly, and not like the classification monstrosity. He took domesticated animals and merged them with other things, so they were super gross. What it would do then, I would have random encounters in there, but really all the random encounters was the appearance of one of his creations to foreshadow this thing is around. And when they ran into it later, it had already plagued another town, so it didn't feel new. So it was random encounter, I guess, but it was random encounter to foreshadow that this thing is plaguing the countryside. So instead of me narrating it's plaguing the countryside, it feels real. Yeah. And my rolls are garbage. So right there, because my rolls are bad typically, then the guys already, have one up on me, because the guys tend to roll well and I tend to roll bad. Yeah. We had to remove an auto-kill house rule because, no joke, multiple guys have auto-killed bosses back in the day. Clint auto-killed a boss back in the day. Like, he was a BBG.
He didn't just auto-kill a boss. He took the first action and auto-killed a boss.
The Death Knight was technically like
Wasn't it like in the first round?
Second or third round, but it was an auto kill extremely early on. Like, I was ready for the whole night to drag on. It's like one arrow, done.
Yeah, I think the nature of our history of how we game, when we used to have really long single sessions once a month where we would get together, that our combats, our play style had become like one long combat and then most of a game session, if not any of several hours of role play before we would start into another one. So like, I think that's our typical pattern, if you will, is several hours of role play, boom, one large combat, several hours of role play.
And if we played weekly, I'd be fine with having it feel like a world where whether you pick this road, a road A, B, or C will alter the encounter, but I don't care anymore.
And I think with stream, it's hard to do because we want to have the maps. We want to have all of it available. So like, it's different for me because when I'm running Terror and Treefell, I don't use actual battle maps. I have a battle chart, if you will, because everything about the way Zweihander runs is so differently. I don't need a map. And there's people using maps for Zweihander, and you can do it. It doesn't add, in my opinion, that much to the encounters. So there's not really
it feels like putting maps in World of Darkness. It doesn't feel like it's a world that needs
that's exactly what it feels like to me. And I often reference World of Darkness in comparison to how Zweihander makes me feel when I'm running it. Is like the first time I picked up the books, I was telling Matt Jowd, I was like, I can play this game and I can run it because it seems almost familiar to me. It's almost like it seems like World of Darkness. Ages. Yeah, it seems like Dark Ages. Yes, very much. So I was like, I can work with this system, no problem. But what it made me realize
is almost seamless.
When I was putting together everything for the stream to do Terror and Treefell, I realized like I don't need maps. I finally the other day, and if my players are watching, you're gonna get a little sneak peek at what's coming. I finally made my first dungeon for Zweihander that they're gonna find. So next game session, January 2nd.
Is that dungeon grim and perilous?
Oh, it's fucking perilous. Don't you worry. it's fucking perilous. Game 6 over the river through the woods. They're gonna go over the river through the woods and they're find a dungeon, and we'll see what they decide to do when they get there. But
I'm not big on dungeon crawls either, especially again that's an audience shift. I'll do a fight, but I don't necessarily think the audience wants to do a dungeon crawl. I think dungeon crawl is part of a back in the day love letter of D&D that we feel we have to do them because it's in the title, Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah. And dungeon crawl is fun if everybody's at the table and can see the dungeon, can move through it, and it's like, what's behind this door? But I don't see the audience having a fun time with that, honestly. Like, because the audience has fun with like, oh, you should say this mean shit to this guy, or oh, that guy, he has red and he has a beard. That guy's Santa Claus. And then so for the past 2 games, the guy that I said is definitely not Santa Claus was referenced as Santa Claus and lived this whole like little meme nonsense that was happening in the chat that was getting jokey, and it was having buy-in from the audience,
right?
And had nothing to do with the dungeon. So,
and that isn't to say that even in a dungeon that you can't have good role play happen in those kind of scenarios. Yeah,
but you'll have it in 3 rooms, not 15.
But what you don't have is it's a long time before anything narratively pushes forward.
Right.
Because you have to clear a certain amount of dungeon to hit a room where something narratively happens. And usually those things in a dungeon, if you're getting one off of DM's Guild or something, when you come through those dungeons, you'll go through a few encounter rooms before you get to a narrative room where something important is happening.
Right.
So yeah.
And to that end, and Clint's going to love this, I don't know that I'm going to do a lot of puzzles. Unless the puzzle is more like a puzzle, not in a conventional sense of a puzzle, but more of like a mystery, in that like it is a letter written from somebody that references something, and there might be like a code in it, but it's not something that it's a wall where you cannot move past.
Right.
Because I don't see anybody watching that and enjoying it. So again, it's the audience that has changed things but it's a way that I'm willing to flow with, and I'm happy to do. I think the biggest one that we all
I think the
are
walking
really
puzzle on Skeezer's back is enough for us right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's plenty, I think, for us as a group.
Yeah, it's totally broken him too. He doesn't know what to do with that. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't love it, but I like it. So, but on to the whole what was I talking about?
Dungeons.
Brain farting. Oh no, I was going to shift on you.
Oh.
So, with the audience, the way they change things, one of the things we've been very debating on is how much do we let the chat or the audience affect the game, or do we?
Yeah, that's been a struggle for us because we really wanted to keep Everstorm pure from that aspect.
Like, I'm sorry I sound really pompous, but I like the integrity that it feels like a story. And honest to God, our litmus test is Drunks and Dragons. Like,
they've dialed it up to 11. So I don't know if
they're on the opposite end of the spectrum.
They're on the opposite end of the spectrum. So I don't know if it's a litmus test, but it's definitely a seeing how the other half lives.
Yeah, that's much better said. So yeah, and I don't know. I want like everybody to be able to feel engaged in what's going on, and I mean, it's not selling out, but like maybe in degrees. But I'm okay with it if it's not going to like ruin stuff. But I don't feel comfortable like you give us bits and suddenly everybody gets advantage all the time, or you give us bits and I get disadvantage all the time, because then it feels like very arbitrary fate fickleness, you know, like
we had that with Zweihander too. Fruitzilla, God bless him, showed up at one of the Grim and Perilous Zweihander games, and Matt, the GM over there, had agreed to, for $1 of bits, for 100 bits, you could give the party a fortune point. And for those of you who've been watching my Zweihander game, you know how fortune works. You could do a lot of things with fortune. Well, so Fruit comes in and buys 2,100 worth of... We had 21 fortune points. Now, you're only supposed to have the number of players plus 1. So, I mean, you're not supposed to have that much fortune. Well, suddenly we were burning fortune for everything because we had just a pile of it. So I went to Matt and I was like, we have to come up with something different. So we came up with a different system that we're using where you can pay just to flip the coins back and forth, but the number never increases. So the amount that's fortune or misfortune, the players can constantly be fighting over how much the DM has versus the players at any point in time. And last night they had an incredible stream. They had 60-some people watching. They were giving away books, everything else during the stream. It was amazing. But there was people buying all 6 or 7 fortune points at a time, trying to flip them all at once. And I was like, Matt needs like an extra person here just to keep up with all the purchases. So like even in a game like Zweihander, where I want to turn that on for my game and let people have that influence, like it made me sit back again. I'm like, just like watching Drunks and Dragons for D&D. I'm like, yeah, that's great, but that's a lot. I don't know if I don't want it to take away the grim and perilous part of it. Like,
Pan's not wrong. Ironically, though I am a control freak with narrative, I love spontaneity.
Yeah.
So I love the deck of many things. I love wild magic.
You love wild magic.
Wild magic.
I could see you going for this.
If I ever get to play in a 5e game, I am only going to be a wild mage sorcerer. Only. Love it. And yet, I don't know about just like opening the floodgates. I don't know. Because I feel like I want the 6 of us to have agency.
Yeah.
And I think that is what makes D&D great. That's what sets it apart. That what makes RPGs great, because the whole idea is you can do anything you choose to do because you have agency. And I don't necessarily feel like giving that up. And that's why I think it's really cool that you guys do Vermintide, because then the whole point of that is it's a meat grinder. It's a gauntlet, and that they can affect it. And that's cool.
Yeah. And man, bless DM Turkey over there at Drunks and Dragons for he keeps up with it so well, and they roll with the punches so well. Like everything that happens over there, they just roll with it and they just go, and it's awesome. Like they do such a great job
like an improv marathon.
Yeah, like it's a testament to how well how well it works for them. Like it's just their total play style, and it works so well for them.
Amazing.
I don't think I could do it. Like that's one of the reasons I don't think
way.
I could do it. Like there's no way.
And the physicality, like I'm a non-drinker, so like I'm a lightweight classically. They all know. If I have like a beer, I'm buzzed. If I have 2, I need to worry about what I'm going to say, and on 3, I'm going to black out. Like, so Drunks and Dragons would kill me. I would die on stream. Like, there's no way I would last.
Like I could probably hang with most of the drinking, but I just on the playing aspect of it, like it's just I couldn't keep up with some of it. But as a viewer, it's fantastic. I love it. I'm there every week.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. Like it's hard, I think, as a DM and a player to like give up some of that agency. Like I totally understand where you're coming from. Like I think as a player, you're always keeping your agency, because no matter what they do, whether they have you reroll to fail or reroll to succeed, like you're still owning what you role play with it and how you come out of it. I think it's the DM GM spot where you're giving up a lot of agency, a lot of things you put into place to have happen may not happen. I think that's maybe where a little more of it kind of gets taken away, is on the DM side.
And one of the things that we've talked about is when we do another game, not that Everstorm would end, but that Everstorm would be sort of like a foundational, like it'll stay throughout. And that if we ever do anything else, that then we'd try and let that one have a little bit more free reign from the chat. So.
I think after last night, I was talking with Clint about it, and I think I am going to open up some participation and stuff for Zweihander going forward. Cool. Maybe not with this first game, just because I don't want to kill anyone in this dungeon. And what I've learned is that the Zweihander crowd is very much, let's give the GM all the misfortune he can to kill the players with. Like, and
nice.
It's auto damage. Like, it's bad.
Ugh.
So it's brutal.
Auto damage.
It's brutal. Like, Zweihander's a very unforgiving system if you let it get that way. So luckily I'm not really out to kill my players, but if it happens, it happens. So, but I think I'm going to open up some. I've already got all 6 misfortunes, so I don't need them to buy me any at the moment. Like, they're already going into this dungeon with me with loaded dice ready to go. So it's going to be bad. But so I'm looking forward to it. Let's go ahead. We're already here at the 11:30 mark. We got a little bit longer to go.
11:30 mark.
Let's talk a little about.
This went faster than I thought.
Yeah.
We were actually like, the 2 of us were kind of concerned we wouldn't have much to talk about, and then I was like,
I could talk for 2 hours on my own. You just put me over the blank screen, and I could do this for
Dustin.
I can go all
talkers.
night. Yeah, I can go all night. Like, it's not a problem. But let's talk a little about kind of what we got coming up. So,
what do we have coming up?
We got C2E2 coming up. I mean,
So C2E2, what we're gonna talk about is I just checked the stream again at the end of the night. It was 2 a.m. and I said the wrong time. February 29th, at McCormick Place. It's a Saturday, at 5:45 to 6:45 in room S405B is where we're going to be. But if you look in the catalog, we are going to be listed as How to Homebrew. That's what we're calling ourselves.
Right.
We're not listed as TT2KB because we're going to list that when you arrive. Like, I'll have that logo up on our projector and we'll be talking about it. But the How to Homebrew is going to be a writer's perspective. I am not going to be talking about how to create a magic item, how to crunch out a new class. I'm not talking about technical. I'm talking about from a narration standpoint. Redeemed wisdom check question.
Air Laser wants to know if we can please record the panel from the convention. We would probably need to make sure it's within the rules of C2E2. I think it's okay. I think we see like Comic-Con panels on like YouTube within an hour of it happening sometimes, so I imagine it'd be fine. But.
So we'll be there. And it's going to be like basically my answer to modules. Because just like, and again, sorry, this is going to make Clint mad, but just like Mercer with Crit Roll, Mercer has said in Crit Roll the reason he writes his own stuff is because when he's a kid, he had to, and he didn't have modules. And I have the exact same background. I didn't have access to modules. I had to make my own stuff. It's the only way I know how to make game. So then when I see modules, they're very frustrating to me because it feels like Skyrim. It feels like I'm talking to NPCs with fixed responses and everything is set in stone. So because of that, I'm very comfortable writing content. So it's going to be how to homebrew content. I'm going to try and reduce it down to simple rules to follow and little guidelines, and then maybe take some audience questions and hopefully be fun. The plan is we are going to be treating C2E2 as a test run for how to do this panel, and all the guys will be up there with me that can make it. And then we'll do the exact same panel applying to Gen Con. And then at Gen Con, we'll also attempt to host a game. I don't know of what. Probably 5e. I might take a chunk of Everstorm we've already run and make prefab characters and then just run that. Like boom, you've crashed the ship. Wavin show up. Or you're on the docks and you have 3 ships to choose from. I don't know. And that's like Game Zero stuff that we did. So then the idea at Gen Con is that we both host a game and host a panel. Just really honestly, we're shooting for exposure. We're just shooting for people to meet us, and then we're all going to have our shirts and be very Team TT2KB. And we just want to meet and network and get ourselves out there so we can try and stand apart from the crowd. That's sort of the goal.
You know who told me they're going to try to make it C2E2? Who told me last night in Grim and Perilous? Fruitzilla.
I want to meet Fruitzilla face to face.
Fruit's planning on being there. He's going to try to make it happen. So he was telling me last night he's planning on being there.
That's pretty cool. And honestly, any of you guys... Oh, really?
I think she's saying Gen Con. I think she's talking about Gen Con.
Okay.
I think she's talking Gen Con.
Either way, any of you that want to come, I would love to meet you, if only to thank you. Because
no kidding.
We don't get to do this unless you guys watch. So the fact that you watch, you come and meet me, I have a handshake for you. I'm a big believer in the handshake. That's all I ever want when I get to meet anybody at any of these conventions. That's my favorite, getting the handshake.
Yep, indeed.
So we'll do Gen Con, we'll do this. We're going to try and shoot for Gary Con too.
Gary Con's pretty close to C2E2, so I don't know how that's going to work out, but we'll have to look at dates and see what we can do. It's not that far for us, so we can probably make it happen. But
Gary Con's not crazy for the Chicagoans.
Yeah,
I don't know what it's going to be like for. I doubt Cam can pull a Gary Con. So.
No, I don't think Cam can make it, but I think the rest of us probably could. We'll have to see. I think that game-wise for the upcoming year, I'm like I said, I'm still going to be running some Zweihander. I think we'll probably see some Pathfinder 2 here on the channel. I'd imagine.
That'd be cool.
I imagine Jeff is going to be chomping at the bit to give it a try. I bought a book. I'm reading it. Starting to read it.
If Jeff runs Pathfinder 2, I will find a way to make him Wild Mage work. I will do that, and I will destroy things. One of the things we talked about, Clint and I have talked about this, is the idea, and I hope I'm not speaking too soon, Clint, of finding games out there that are looking to promote themselves and then running a brief run of said game.
Yes.
And then doing 1 or 2, a single shot game of that. And I think we're going to call it. Okay, ready for this, Ogle? Sorry.
You got to drop a name on me here? You got a name? Oh, good. It's one less name I got to come up with, so let's do this.
Ready?
Yeah.
TT2KB presents Spotlight. And then it'd be Spotlight on this, Spotlight on that. And then for Spotlight, I'll run a one-shot, and then we would also try and make that getting the chat involved. And I don't know how often we do it, and it's an idea that I'm not opposed to, so I'm willing to give it a shot. Because I like showcasing other people, and the Zweihander, you are the reason Clint and I talked about that. That's all you.
I'll tell you, I've had a hell of a lot of fun running with Notorious DMG. They run a similar model. In my opinion, they're all too busy, so we never get together and do it as much as we should. So if we can make it happen even just within us at TT2KB, it'd be amazing if we do like one a month or something. But maybe even on the Thursdays when my Zweihander game ends, we can just start booking those every Thursday with one of them. I think that'd be awesome.
I'm going to regret talking about Spotlight now because I don't know when I'm going to fit that into my life.
Well,
I feel like
we
it'll
can
be like I'm doing Everstorm and that.
We can replace like Sea at
Pathfinder
Thieves. We can
2,
replace like Sea at Thieves with it or something down the road if we need to. It's fine. We'll make time. It won't be any more extra than what we're already doing. I promise. But
January. That's when.
Yeah. So in January, I'm booking a time with Notorious DMG. Like I'm running a game of Werewolf. Second ed. I'm doing Werewolf. It'll be on Notorious DMG. We're going to play some Cyberpunk Red if it comes out. We're going to be playing like all these games. Like we did a one shot. Me and Jeff got to be in there, and Georgie, one of my Zweihander players, came in for the Heroes of Gallipite, the guy we talked to when he was last time you were on the show with me.
Yeah,
and we ran a one shot of that thing. Like
nice.
We had a good time with it. Like it's some quirky rules. Like we were all kind of sitting there, me and Chuck. And we're like, okay, well, we're not sure what we're doing here. This game's very weird and foreign to us, but it was fun to still just sit down and play in. With whatever system they throw in front of you, and what I've learned at Notorious DMG is if you do a good enough job of reaching out into the communities and you get to meet these people, the people who made the game will come onto your stream and play it with you.
That's really cool.
They played with the guy who created Dark Trails, and I got to play in a game of Dark Trails. I got to play in. We're going to do another one next month here in January, and it will be on TT2KB. I think we're doing a Ballad of the Bandoleros, which is a kind of a Wild West, like Zweihander-ish sort of game. Like a lot of the rules look like Zweihander, but it's Wild West. So we're gonna have it coming up because we're Wisdom Check. We have the creator of it coming on here to talk to us, so we're gonna try to do it like the day before.
I like talking to creators. That's just very inspiring.
So I think we're gonna get a couple of pilot episodes of Spotlight before we launch an actual Spotlight. Kind of almost like we did with Chateau when we kind of played Zweihander that one game. Like that would have been a fun one to have on our channel. It was on Grim and Perilous for obvious reasons, but I mean it would have been a fun one to have here because I think we rocked the hell out of that thing for as badly as we were rolling. But you go back and watch it. There's a lot of good entertainment value in that episode. So it's what I'm really proud of all of us as a group is that everybody's good at slipping into character and trying to stick in character as much as possible and trying to react to stuff and role playing it not as nuts and bolts and mechanics, but as a person that happens to have to follow these rules to make things happen. Right.
And all of us just do that. Like we just do that because we don't know any better. Because we all kind of came into it early through like very character-driven World of Darkness stuff in D&D and that kind of actory approach. So,
and
that's what I've always liked about our group. So,
and a lot of us LARPed, and we're going to talk about LARP in a couple of weeks on Wisdom Check too. I've got a session where we're going to start. Yeah, Tom Schwarzenholm's coming on here with us. We're going to talk about LARP.
Oh, okay,
so it's going to be a good time.
That's awesome.
But I think that was, and I've said this I know on this show several times, is that LARP was like a big turning point for me. Like you look at games pre when I LARPed and games post LARP, and I'm a different player. And that 5 year span in LARP really changed how I play, like quite a bit.
LARP, that was a whole thing.
Yeah,
vampire and then rave.
Now, Air Laser. This is where I got to talk a little bit about LARP, and we're going to talk about this more in a few weeks. But I'm
role models.
Role models. Was and was not LARPing all at the same time.
Yeah.
There's groups out there that do the foam weapons and the foam whatever. Right. And that is not exactly how LARP
we were
is.
less cool. We were, because that is arguably cooler.
I mean, we were playing Vampire, but nonetheless.
We were all in leather trench coats walking in hallways, holding little note cards that represented guns and doing hand motions to represent cool powers. So that's how Vampire LARP works.
Yeah, it was like learning sign language. Like it was there's like a whole lingo.
You guys can't see me. I'm obfuscated.
Right. Yeah, you learn how all that works. You can become a master of rock, paper, scissors too.
Chat, and then Ogle comes in around a corner and he sees me and I go like this.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then I keep walking. Because I'm so invisible, guys. You saw how invisible I became? No, you didn't.
Right. No, you didn't. He's invisible. So then you get really good at ignoring people. Like, but no, it was so it was definitely we'll definitely get a little more into LARP in a couple of weeks when Tom comes on the show with us. But I think that
Tom knows. That was that was a huge chunk of his stuff.
I think coming in the year ahead, you're going to see more video games here on the channel. I think we're definitely we're gonna up some of our video game presence with 7 Days to Die. We still got Vermintide, Sea of Thieves that we do. So I think we're gonna see a lot more video games here on the channel. It was one of the things that with TT2KB we wanted to do. We want to be tabletop and keyboard games also.
We want to be more. We're gonna keep pressuring Cam for music, and it's not gonna happen. Cam.
So you'll get your Cam music from Levi.
Myself. I'm gonna be the musician just with my mouth. It's gonna be just all me.
And that's already gonna. We'll already sell that before we get anything else sold. That's already going to sell off
the Cam ringtone.
We got merch stores coming. We promise. They're like all but done. I think we're working on what the storefront looks like, and then we're going to go on it. So, like, we got all kinds of good stuff for what I'm referring to is I almost want to call it phase 2, like of TT2KB. That's phase 2.
Phase 2. You're likening us to Marvel.
I'm pushing it a little hard, I know.
Dial it back there. Take about 10% off the top there,
It's about 10% big shooter. Yeah, so for season 2, we're going to do a lot of this sort of stuff. We'll need a swear jar for Tom. He runs his own stream now over at Smart Gamer Live, so he's learned how to tone himself down. So he does good now. So we got a lot of that good stuff coming on. I'd love to do another Zweihander game with you guys in it. Like somewhere down the road, like after Tree Fell ends, like down the road. Okay. Like give Jeff a chance to do some Pathfinder. We got a few other games coming out this year we might look at. We get to these conventions, we might start picking some other stuff up to play here on here as well.
We'll see where it goes.
I mean, we got Christmas in a couple of days, and do you have any tabletop role playing games on your radar? Do you have that you want to pick up? Like anything new? I mean, we just got into 5e. 5e still feels so new to us. Like
I'm a creature of habit. You guys know me. I'll grind out the same game for a decade and then not realize it's been a decade. Like, we got done, and then Jeff was all like, well, we've been playing this for 10 years. I'm like, no, we haven't. And they're like, yeah, Levi, we started on. I'm like, so I'm a creature of habit. I'll just do the same looping grind for years and just enjoy it. Like, it's the same with everything. Like, I don't love a standalone book. I like a series. I don't like a short video game. I like one I can spend forever playing. So, I'm all about the distance. So, there's nothing on the horizon that I'm like dying to play. I love Exalted. I had a lot of fun. Shout out to Jeff. Jeff, that game was great.
I wish I could have been in it, but
schedule didn't work out. I hate change. I fear change, which shows up as hatred.
Oh, thank you, Air Laser. That's awesome. $25 tip.
Oh my god!
Air Laser dropping the direct dollars these days. Thank you, Air Laser.
Namaste. Release the ringtone.
Release the ringtone, please. Clint, okay, I could bear witness to this. Crazy Ike has it. He has an entire song worth of the ringtone on his phone. Wow. I don't know how we put that in a format you can get it, but it's out there already. So you just have to talk to Crazy Ike, and maybe he'll find a way to make it accessible.
Thanks,
for you.
Air.
So
she just threw the gauntlet at you. It was made of money. All right. So I love to get Exalted. That was fun. I would love to do World of Darkness again, because that was always our second game.
They get a new edition out, so it might be cool to like pick up the new edition and see. I don't know, like
new book. I don't know.
We'll see. I'm gonna run Werewolf, and then I'll get a little taste of it again and see if I really want to go back to it or not. Okay.
But I don't know. I always said I would like a West game. We'll see how long. I'm also Hey, everybody. All my nerddom began with comic books. I'm very comfy in a comic book world. So, superhero game I've done before. The game was, you can look it up. We're going to look up the old days. The old-timey thing was the old-school Marvel system, also called the face rip system, because FASERIP were the names of the attributes, and the face rip system was ridiculous because we loved it, and Jeff hates it. Jeff hates the Marvel face rip system.
Yeah.
And
I can understand why.
superhero games are really cool. I love them because I can just, honestly, I just steal shit because I've read so much comic books. It's really easy for me to interweave and reskin things that I know into something that I can. I have a very fertile garden in my head for superhero, so I can do superhero someday. Someday we'll see. But like I said, I'm such a workhorse with making these things last long. I'd like to do 100 episodes of Everstorm. I don't know if we'll go for 100. I would like to. We'll see how it goes.
There was last year at Gen Con, I ran around with Bob from Featherfall Tabletop for a day. And he picked up a game there, a book he got signed by its creator of Tattered Capes. And
Oh, cool.
after taking a look at Tattered Capes, it could be a really cool superhero game to do. Because it's superheroes in the zombie apocalypse. And all the A-list superheroes have been turned into zombies. So you're the B-rate heroes who have to deal with them as zombie superheroes. So it's
Air Laser. Jeff hates Buffy.
yeah.
Jeff
that's true.
does not care for Joss Whedon's writing of character dialogue. That said, I love Buffy, and my wife and I sing to each other songs that are like our songs. And one of the songs we sing is Xander and Anya's song from Once More with Feeling, which is the musical episode of Buffy, which we both bought the soundtrack of. That's how much I like Buffy. Since we're just
Oh,
look at
man.
that. Look at that.
She is
My
jumping
goodness,
ship.
one.
She's jumping ship.
Yeah, Jeff hated the face rip system. Hated Marvel face rip so much.
Yeah.
So much.
I can understand that to a degree. I liked Aberrant. If we were going to play superheroes, I always liked Aberrant, but none of the Aberrant games I was ever in lasted very long.
Yeah, they don't last long.
There's a new Star Wars, Edge of the Empire, and I took a look at the book when I was over at the game shop, and I'm considering picking up Edge of the Empire. But Star Wars is kind of one of those genres that, in my opinion, doesn't translate well to a tabletop role-playing game. So I watch people do it, and it's okay, but there's something about laser blast cannons and swords that seem like you ought to die quicker than you do in most tabletop role-playing games. So it's always been a little rough for me. So even if you're taking Jedi out of the equation, like a blaster usually does the trick. So
yeah. Oh, Buffy and Angel. This is going. It's getting hard down here. You say
they're on a.
Oh man, I watched all of Angel and all of Buffy, and man, Angel's series finale was painful. Man, I didn't love it. I didn't love how that ended. Let's see, superhero. You know what? I love. I feel like the grail for us that has never happened except the once is Mage. I love Mage, but I would never run Mage because it hurts my brain.
Mage I could never wrap my head around Mage.
No one can wrap their head around Mage. It's Mage. Hi, everybody. Mage the Ascension and Mage the Awakening are the two versions of World of Darkness Mage. And let me tell you about Mage. Oh my. So it's like the greatest game in the world for players because they get to invent shit within a certain rules setup. But man, like, it's the problem of being like a writer and having to write a character that's smarter than you, which is why that for years, like Iron Man had really bad comic book runs because Tony Stark is supposed to be smarter than you, the reader. And if he's smarter than the author that writes him, then how do you even write him? If you're not smart enough to write a character that's smarter than you. So like mage is that problem if you're running it. Like how do you make a threat that's something they can fight, but is something that's so abstract they don't notice it with their crazy senses. So yeah. Mage is the game I'd love to play, but I would never want to break my brain.
Yeah, I of the World of Darkness games, Mage and Changeling, I can never quite grasp them. Like I
can't wrap my head around Changeling either, because like I get that Changeling is supposed to be dark and depressing, and it's about banality and stuff like that. But at the same time, I mean, at the end result of Changeling, isn't it all supposed to be about survival and inspiring hope and dreams and like clap if you love fairies? I don't see how players get behind clap if you love fairies. I don't, like I have a tough time wrapping my brain around that.
Yeah, I don't.
But like Wraith, I can do Wraith to death.
Yeah, Wraith makes sense. I can do Wraith.
But Wraith, like, I don't know how to make a group work with Wraith. I think Wraith is tough to make a group work.
Yeah.
Because, like,
No,
Wraith
totally
feels individual.
Yeah, it does.
Wraith feels like one person.
I feel that way about Vampire, too.
Yeah.
Like, it made sense at LARP. At the LARP level, made total sense. Tabletop LARP for Tabletop Vampire has never felt right to me. Like, I get the idea that you're a coterie, like, you're this pack of people, but like it.
Well, are we though?
But are we though? Right, exactly. Like,
are we though? Because I feel like Vampire works best when people are actively trying to backstab their friends.
Right. Like you take like my character Balrin is like he has some quote unquote like vampire tendencies, but he's not as vampire tendency as any of my vampire characters were.
Oh,
like he's not. He ain't pushing that far to the edge. You know,
he's like vampire. On lazy mode.
Yeah, he's a lazy vampire, if anything. But like it's that level of like opportunist that you have to be as a vampire. Like we're in this together, but the moment shit goes south, fuck you. Here's to me. I'm out of here. Like
fuck you. You're cool.
Yep,
I'm out.
Right. Yeah. So, it was. It really was. I don't think I realized how much Vampire was meant for LARP until I LARP Vampire, and for me, it's really hard to go the other direction.
It changes it.
So when I found out most of the guys in Notorious DMG had never played a World of Darkness game, I was like, okay, I'm gonna run one for you then. And I was like, what am I gonna run? I was like, well, I know Vampire the best, and I was like, I'm running Werewolf. I
know Vampire the best. Werewolf it is.
I'm running Werewolf. That's the one I'm doing. Like. If I want them to have a good time, that's the one we're going to go with. So, and I always loved Werewolf, but it is, if you're going to run one with a group, like at a tabletop, in my opinion, it's the one that works best for that. Probably also then makes it the worst one to have in LARP. I think a Werewolf LARP would be hard to do. But, but at the same time, it's that's just the World of Darkness games in general. Where, like I said, we're going to talk a lot about that in a couple of weeks, so I don't want to get too into the LARP thick of things right now. But I think there is something to be said, and me and Jeff talk about this, and I'm sure you agree. Like, you get these different systems, and they play so differently, and it is about what kind of story you want to tell, which system you probably need to do it with. So
yeah, some work better than others. That's for sure.
That's the exciting part for me. I think about like. I've kind of decided that now that this whole streaming thing over the last year has kind of really worked out pretty well for us, and we're going to be doing these things, like I think I am going to start to venture out from D&D more, which is crazy considering we've been playing for 20 some years, and for the most part, it's been D&D, and even when we were playing Pathfinder, we still considered it just D&D because it was so much like 3.5. We never really considered Pathfinder a different game.
No,
it was just the new version of D&D because no one liked 4th Ed. So that's just kind of where we were. But so I guess for me, like, this is like, it's weird to think that, like, I just turned 40 and I've been playing for 20 years and I'm just now deciding to start experimenting with like other games. It's like my own like gaming midlife crisis, It's,
See,
it is.
We're all midlife crisising here.
I started a bookshelf here behind me.
Guys, I'm building this bookshelf.
I do. It's got my minis on it, and like my Zweihander books are up there. So
I got that too. My room's just getting more ridiculous all the time. Add more stuff. Well,
Yeah, something like
we
that.
are approaching midnight.
We are. Does that mean I have to figure out how to shut this thing off? I don't know how to shut it off.
you
We
gotta
just
figure
have
out
to
how to shut
talk
that
till I
off.
figure it out. So
Okay. But yeah, we're gonna try and work out the new schedule. I got to sit down and write it, and I got to work on a lot of art, and that's what my break's looking like. So
we got emotes to do. The new currency on Twitch, I have relabeled it as cams. You can now collect your cams. So
That's
we need
awesome.
a good
Collect
cam
all your
face.
cams,
We need a
guys.
good cam face emote to put down there for the cams.
I have 3,000 cams.
Yeah, that's a lot of time watching.
I got all the cams.
We'll work on things you can redeem them for as well.
Yeah.
To make it worth your time to be there. You're gonna have the rest of my Terra and Treefell game. We're gonna have some video games coming up. We're gonna have a whole bunch of cool stuff to try to make this upcoming year even better than the one we just had.
Summer's gonna be awesome. Enjoy.
I think it is gonna be. So you can expect a new season of the Wisdom Check starting in January. We do
and
have
new intro. Sorry, Air.
Yeah, well, I don't know. The new intro thing still seems to be up in the air a bit too.
Oh,
Yeah, well, we'll see. I don't know.
conspiracies.
We're waffling. Jeff's turning from pancakes into waffles. We don't know. We're all waffling now. We don't know. So we'll figure it out. But Jeff is back next week with me, and we do have a guest, and I can't look at who it is because I'll lose Levi if I try. So,
Smart Gamer Live. Where did I get that hat? Redeemed Wisdom Check question. Isn't that Tom?
No. Smart Gamer Live is Zaylen. He runs it. Yeah. Tom.
I got this hat back in the day from Spencer's Gifts, I believe. I generally keep my eyes open for ridiculous Santa hats. I have 5 of them.
Hans
One
Cummings,
for each
yes.
day of the week leading up to winter break, because I'm a teacher, so I wear a different Santa hat each day.
Nice.
Ta-da.
So yes, next week when Jeff is back with me, we have Hans Cummings who will be on the show. Jeff, I know, met him at one of the conventions and talked to him about coming here.
And then you'll have Team Jeff's Beard back, everybody.
Teams Jeff Beard will return next week, where we will get to hear him gloat about being the Dre fantasy football champion for the next coming year.
Which I don't care about.
Yeah, no one cares about but him and me, because I'm not the champion this year. So
Yeah, I don't even play sports ball.
yeah, so
All right.
he'll be back next week with Hans, and I know he's had Hans on the books for like quite a while. So the guy must we had to book him way in advance. So it hopefully
should be
a
good.
really cool episode next week, and that'll be it for this year.
Thanks for coming out this evening, everybody. Have a lovely and happy holiday.
It's gonna be have a great Christmas. Thursday would normally be Sea of Thieves. I don't know if we're playing. We haven't talked about Thursday. I'm guessing not.
I have to go back to see my parents, so I'm probably out for a little while.
Everstorm will return sometime in January. Terra and Treefell's January 2nd. So through the break, we're gonna be a little dead air here for a little while, but
It's okay.
But it's just know that we're spending this time working on all sorts of cool new things that we want to do starting in the new year. So
Hopefully character art. So that's my job.
This will give us, when we come back, when you see us next, we will hopefully have all kinds of really cool stuff to be able to show you. So we're hoping to do some new Unreal intros for Everstorm. I want to put together an entire just intro for Everstorm myself. I want to start writing that for you. Like all kinds of cool. Yeah, Hep was still robbed. We understand. I'll tell you that story when we're done here. So, everyone, thank you for stopping in. Thank you, One Crit Wonder here for making an appearance here at the end. For Zaylen for showing up there a little late. Obviously, we got some of our regulars here. Air Laser, thank you again for the donation tonight. We love you. Don't ever change. Go check out our stream team members: Air Laser, the Liching Hour, and the guys over at the Grouch Couch. They have 2 streams now. There's Grouch Couch Games and the Grouch Couch. So, and Levi has froze up. This is awesome. I'm just leaving it there for an extra minute. That's all we're doing
Oh,
now.
shit.
We're just leaving that thing with you with the squinty eye face.
That's
Yep.
awesome.
That's awesome. We're just gonna leave you right there.
Okay, cool.
And so yeah, go check all those guys out. And Clint thought
I'm
you fell
so
asleep.
zen.
You're so zen. And so
I'm Zenyatta over there.
So from myself, everyone here at Tabletop to Keyboard, Levi, again, thank you all of your viewers. It's been a fantastic first year and a little over a year of streaming. We went into this unsure what it was going to be, that anyone would want to hear anything we have to say or do or play our game or anything. And it's just been amazing, the support we've had from everybody and the viewership and everything else that we've gotten. Fruitzilla, if you're out there, obviously, we love you and don't ever change, my man. And we hope we get to see you at C2E2, and anyone else heading there, we hope we'll see you as well. And I think I finally found the off button. So let's end this stream. Have a good night,
Thank you.
guys.